All right, let's get into the news.
Good evening, Mr. Mr. North South American. All the ships and clippers at sea. Let's go to press. Flow.
In 18XX news this week, 1860 Railways on the Isle of Wight. A game from Mike Hutton is finally on Kickstarter. This is a beloved 18XX, and notable because it is considered the best two-player 18XX. And by best, I mean maybe one of the only ones. There's not a lot of great two-player 18XXs, but this is the one. So if you have a dedicated gaming partner and you are interested in 18XX or you love 18XX, I think it is well worth checking out 1860 Railways on the Isle of Wight. I've never played it, but I've always been curious what a two-player 18XX that is sort of designed for two would feel like. It does play to, I think, 4 or 5 even. One side of the board is for 2 or 3 players, another side is for more. But yeah, I think definitely worth checking out if that sounds interesting to you.
Like
Another piece of
all
go ahead.
18XX have the stock market component, right?
Yeah, I've never seen one that doesn't. Yeah,
And so I'm just curious how that will play out in a 2-player 18XX.
Because it could be a little zero sum.
Exactly. So that's very interesting to me. So I'm curious how they implement that.
Yeah, 2, 4, 6. It looks like there's 8 different companies in the game, so that could definitely. It seems like in a 2-player game, you'd probably be owning 3 or 4 of those, I would imagine. In other 18XX news, this one's very interesting to me. 1880 China, which is considered by many one of the great 18XXs, but this one is notable because it is impossible to get forever. Out of print, impossible to buy, wildly expensive on the aftermarket. And now Lookout Spiel, which is one of my favorite publishers that do a lot of great games, notably last week's review game Hallertau. So a big Euro game designer is putting out 1880 China, which is very exciting. No actual announcement of when that's happening, but they released a new box cover for it, and it is definitely in the works. So that is very exciting on the 18XX front. Let's see what else we've got. The first expansion for Paladins of the West Kingdom, City of Crowns, coming to Kickstarter in the next week or two from Garfield Games. I really like Paladins of the West Kingdom. I actually love it. I think it might be my favorite of all of that series of games. But I don't know if I need to play it as anything other than a solo game, because it kind of is a solo game. But it's a fantastic solo game.
Well, in our group, I think it's a little divisive. I think some people feel like it's not enough of a game, and some people feel like it's a perfect game for what it delivers. For those people, I wonder if the expansion, I'm always, when an expansion comes out, I almost always am enthusiastic about it. It doesn't matter if I feel like the game needs it or not. What I always want to see is how much someone thinks to augment their product and see if it's worth the money that they are charging.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see if this is the answer to the complaint of some of that it's multiplayer solitaire, or if it's a doubling down on the multiplayer solitaire and just going that's what it is.
And that's a must buy for Matt then. Boom.
Either way, it's a must buy. But yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with City of Crowns coming to Kickstarter in the next week or two. And if you go to Garfield Games, you can find a link to be notified of when that will come on Kickstarter for you. We have the birth of a new game company called Rose Gauntlet Entertainment. This is a new game company by Isaac Vega, the designer of Dead of Winter, and a creative director and designer named Lindsay Rode. They have joined forces to begin their own game company. I always think it's great when designers come together to start their own sort of record label, if you will.
Sure.
They have announced a handful of games that we have not much information on other than the titles of them, but you can go to their website, which is rosegauntlet.com, and learn lots more about this exciting new venture, and we wish them the best. Always great to see new players enter the sphere. Let's see. A new game from Spielworks coming out. Spielworks, which is known for all the games that we like pretty much in the last couple of years. They have done Pax Pamir and La Granja and Die Macher and Arkwright and Gentes and Deluvia Project and most recently The Cost. These games then often get picked up by Spielworks and put out by other people eventually. But they, for me, are always must try. Whatever comes out from Spielworks is a game that I have to check out. This new one coming to Kickstarter on February 19th is a dice bag building game in a steampunk universe. Yes, I'm in for that. Whatever that means.
Take my money.
Yeah, yep, I'm good. I'm in for that. The designer is a new designer I hadn't heard of before, named Bernd Scholz. As always with Spielworks, they have limited print runs. Only 1,000 copies of this will be made, and then potentially it gets picked up by somebody else and printed more. But always worth looking into the new Spielworks game because they always put out really heavy, fun, cool new stuff. This one is fun. Paul, you and I have a past with pinball, don't we?
We have a past with pinball. We were in a pinball league.
Paul and I, you probably didn't even know that exists, but there are amateur pinball leagues in probably every major city in the world. And we were in one in Los Angeles together, and we would go to a Korean barbecue place that had a pinball room in the back with 30 to 40 pins in it. Yes, they're called pins. And we'd be paired up in groups of 4 and we'd play competitive pinball. And Paul and I, we won the entire no, we didn't. We were horrible. Right. And we were at the bottom of the leaderboard.
Well, in the rock opera Tommy, there's the pinball wizard, but they don't talk about
the pinball loser.
Exactly.
The pinball idiot.
That's right. That was me. Matt slightly, I don't know, better is absolutely the word, but there's this aspect where when we're playing Dice Masters, do you remember how I was, whatever the case, I just was a slightly luckier or better than you at every 0.001%. So when we played tournament,
Paul and I also played Dice Master tournaments, if you can believe that, about, I don't know, 7 years ago.
Yeah,
probably.
Bonding experience. This is like the bedrock of not the only stone, but definitely bedrock of our friendship.
Yeah.
And
I love going to tournaments and game playing tournaments with you. I think we've done that. We went to a Netrunner tournament, the first ever Netrunner tournament ever held in Los Angeles. Paul and I went to together.
Yes, and got destroyed and commiserated.
We thought we were so good. We had this little 2-person meta, and we were like, "Oh, we're the best." And we showed up and just got trounced.
Yeah. Oh, and then we did the Game of Thrones one too.
Yeah, we sure did.
And I did okay.
We did a lot of Game of Thrones tournaments.
Yeah, I did okay with that because I copied someone's deck and the deck auto played.
Yeah, there you go. We just net decked forever and just prayed. Well, I hope we get to go to some gaming tournaments together in the future. That's always one of my favorite things ever.
Absolutely. Anyway, pinball was the inverse of that, where I felt like Matt was always just like, "Oh man, you won again."
Yeah, I always just had one better bonus than you or one more skill shot. Well, the reason we're talking about pinball at all is because Super Skill Pinball, which is a roll and write game from Jeff Engelstein, is getting its first standalone sequel. This is called Super Skill Pinball Ramp It Up. Similar to the last one in that it had 4 pins, as we call them in the inner circles of pinball players. This has 4 new ones that's going to implement the new world of ramps. A lot of people don't know that ramps were actually the first major innovation in pinball. It didn't come around until the 70s, I believe. But those plastic ramps that are so
ubiquitous,
basic today, ubiquitous on all pins are were not a thing that existed in the old EM pins from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So it makes sense that the first expansion would be all about ramps or standalone sort of second game. I would love to play Super Skill Pinball with you, Paul. I think it is a really, really solid roll and write, and I'm saying that as someone who really doesn't care about roll and writes and doesn't necessarily enjoy them at all. But of all the ones I've tried, this has come the closest to something that I potentially enjoy, and not just because of the theme, but it genuinely does feel like you're playing pinball. So
Cool. Like, I'm always game.
yeah, well, we'll give it a whirl when the corona is over. And lastly, this news just annoys me, but there is a new deck of Agricola cards coming out. Now, here's why this annoys me, because I have an insert for my copy of Agricola Revised, and I just got the D deck. They've had the A, B, C, and finally the D deck came, and it perfectly fit in my insert. And now from A to D, it's full. I couldn't fit a single more card in, and I was like, you know what? I bet they're done, and that's awesome, and it all fits in the box. And now they're coming out with another deck. It's not even called the E deck. Now it's called the Console Dirigens deck, and it's more cards to go in the C and D deck. I don't even know what that means. They're expanding other expansions, but you know what? I'm going to ignore it because it annoys me, and it doesn't fit in my box.
You're going to ignore it for now.
For now. I don't. Today. You know what? I'm not. I would have to have a second box for this to go, and that's just annoying. That's not going to fit on the shelf.
Well, you just, you'll upgrade your box, and I don't want to tell your future, but how is your journey to being the world champion Agricola 2021 coming along?
So I started in my Agricola path to becoming the number one Agricola player in the world. I started at the bottom, and I am. Let me check the leaderboards at the very bottom still.
So you ever see the Office episode where the cold open is like Jim gets some letterhead for Dwight and then faxes it to Dwight saying "Future Dwight"?
Right.
So that's what I want to do to you. I'm gonna go like "Future Matt," like you are the best Agricola player in the world. You're the Magnus Carlsen of Agricola. Like, just keep the faith. Like,
Yes, I love it.
So that's what I want to do. But it'll be sent via email because no one has a fax anymore.
That's true. Hey, if you enjoyed that video, you very well might enjoy the other videos you now see being suggested to you on screen. Also, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could like, share, or subscribe to our Game Brain channel. Thanks so much.